Hello my loves, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. I have something slightly different for today's video. I thought it'd be fun to give you guys book recommendations based on prompts that you give me. If that makes sense. So I asked over on my Instagram for you to give me basically any random, really specific book prompts that you would love a book recommendation for, and I've written them all down on bits of paper. I put them in our little heart glass. Can we just take a minute to appreciate how cute this is? Adorable. And I'm gonna pick some of these out and then give you book recommendations based on your prompts. So I thought we'd do about 8 to 10 maybe. We'll see how we go. But I'm very excited. I thought this was a really fun way to give you guys book recommendations. So without further ado, let's pick out our first prompt. A book to get me out of a reading slump. Okay, great start. Reading slumps are honestly the worst, so I feel like you need something that's going to be quick and easy to read and just very gripping. I tend to gravitate towards maybe a Freida McFadden book for this, or just a really short romance that I think is going to be fun. Let me find something. Okay, I have two options. First up for my Freida McFadden recommendation, I'm going to recommend One by One to get you out of a reading slump, just because this is one of her shortest ones. I honestly think it's like, it's not even 300 pages, it's literally 258 pages, so very short. And this is one of those where the actual plot isn't the most original thing, like it's following a group of friends, lost in the woods at night kind of situation, but there's just something so fast paced about this one and will literally just keep you hooked the entire time. And I think when I read this, I read it in like under 24 hours. Very, very quick, easy read. You can't really go wrong with a Freida McFadden. And then for romance, another one that has got me out of a reading slump is The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. This is just so much fun. It's honestly just so cute. And I found this super easy to read because a lot of it is dialogue. Like actually majority of it is dialogue, and then you also have like text messages in here as well, and I just find that anything that has something slightly different like text messages makes it so much quicker to read. I don't know what it is about it. And this one again is under 300 pages and it's just a really fun read. It's actually the second one to Mr. Wrong Number. It's kind of like a little interconnected duo, if you will. But I personally actually read this one first, and I would say that it doesn't really matter what order you read them in. If you want to read them both, then I would recommend reading Mr. Wrong Number first, but also at the same time I don't think it really matters because it didn't really affect my reading experience. Because of these sort of books they are, you kind of assume how they're going to end and you just kind of know what you're getting yourself into with these books. So there are the characters from Mr. Wrong Number in this book, which is kind of a slight spoiler, but also at the same time not really, because of the type of book that it is, if that makes sense. This is just so fun, literally had me giggling, kicking my feet, and I really liked it as a quick, easy little read. So to get you out of a reading slump, they're my two recommendations. Next prompt, let's go for this one. A mystery thriller set in a boarding school. Ooh, okay. Does The Naturals count? I feel like that's not really a boarding school, but they do stay at the place they're working at. But I feel like it doesn't really fit. I'm gonna recommend This Book Kills by Ravina Guron. This one fits perfectly. It's a mystery thriller, it's YA, it's set at a boarding school. This one has a very similar vibe to like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. If you like that book, then I think you would also like this. It follows Jess at this boarding school, and there's basically been a murder at the school, and the murder happened in the exact same way as a short story that Jess herself wrote. And then Jess starts to receive anonymous, creepy messages, and she basically gets involved in finding out who the killer is and everything, and why they've used her own story to do these murders, essentially. Next prompt. This one. A book you put off for ages but ended up loving. I'm gonna go with Days of Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is actually a recent read for me. I think it was last month that I read this. And I've been putting this off for so long. It's been on my TBR cart for so long, and I don't know why I was putting it off. I really don't. I think it's just because it's one of those where it has so much hype that is kind of intimidating to go into. One of those where you feel like your expectations are too high to go into it. But I got to it last month and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. This follows the rise and fall of this 70s rock band, and it's really interesting because it's all in interview form. So it's so quick and easy to read. I loved the fact that it was in interview form. I thought it was so interesting how it was getting the story across to us in that form. I thought it was so clever. I also think the amount of work that Taylor Jenkins Reid must have done to write this book. Like, she literally wrote songs for this band that are all in the back of the book, and also just the amount of knowledge that she must have had to have in regards to the band itself and like the detail about the instruments that each one of these people play. I also think this is such an interesting book that almost feels sort of like a character study in a way, just because the relationships between each of the characters is so interesting to read, and I just feel like there's a lot to unpack with it, especially the two main characters, Daisy and Billy. And it's definitely one where you just didn't know what was going to happen next. You just didn't know what was coming. And I really, really enjoyed it. I rated it 4 stars, and I think it could potentially be a 4.5 stars. So this is one that I have put off, but I absolutely loved when I actually got round to it. Next prompt. Oh my goodness, they're all falling out. Let's go for this one. A book that leaves you feeling happy. I like that one. I like that one. I'm gonna have to say the most obvious one for me is The Wind in the Willows. I just love this book, and it is such a joy to read, honestly. Not only does it have absolutely gorgeous illustrations all throughout the book, so it's so fun to read, but it's such a joy, honestly. It's basically short stories following these animals going on little adventures. I mean, how cute and perfect. And it's just one of the most wholesome books that I've ever read. And it's one that I literally recommend everyone to read because it literally leaves you feeling happy. Yeah, it's just very cute and very fun, and I think it fits perfectly to that prompt. We've done 4 prompts so far. Let's do our next one with this one. Locked room, snowy setting. Very specific. I love it. Let me have a think. The first one that I actually thought of was Snowed In, which is actually a Christmas book, but since we're coming up to summer, it felt kind of wrong to recommend that. So I've gone with Never Lie by Frida McFadden, another Frida book. But I feel like this kind of works because the thing that I remember the most about this book is how creepy and eerie the whole vibe was, and that was partly to do with the wintry, cold, snowy setting and the fact that they were literally stuck in this big manor house type thing. This one follows this couple who go to this manor house to basically look around in the hopes to potentially buy it, and they arrive there and the estate agent isn't there to show them around, and there's this big snowstorm that's coming in, so they basically enter the house and start to have a look around, and they realise that the house actually belonged to a psychiatrist that went missing. And her disappearance was never solved, and when they're looking around this house they find some tapes between the psychiatrist and her clients, and they start listening to them, and it's very creepy, very eerie. I really like this one as well because you have the actual transcripts of the tapes basically every other chapter, and again I just love books that have something slightly different in there, and it just makes it really fast paced and easy to read, and it definitely has that kind of locked in snowy setting kind of vibe. Next prompt. Could read in a day. I got you. I got you. Again, I have 2 recommendations for this. The first one is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is a YA psychological thriller, and this one's so short. It's literally 225 pages, so very short. Could definitely read this in a day. I actually recently reread this book and I read it in one sitting. It follows this really rich family who have an island that they go to every summer, and this one basically uncovers something that happened one of the summers. I always really struggle to sum this up without giving any spoilers or giving anything away, because I do think it's one of those books that is better off going in not knowing anything. So I'm just going to leave it at that, but I definitely recommend this. This was literally a 5-star read for me. And then I also have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, another one that I read in like 1 or 2 sittings. I read it in under 24 hours, and there's just something so fun about this one. I mean, this whole series I'm obsessed with. There is just something so refreshing about Abby Jimenez's writing and the characters she creates, and the characters honestly just feel so real and genuine and fun at the same time. Like, she has such a good balance of making her characters deal with harder things, but also making it a rom-com and making it fun at the same time. And this one in particular, I just remember really loving how Daniel and Alexis got on, and like how they bounced off each other in their back and forth and their banter with each other. I just remember absolutely loving reading that, and it just meant that I literally flew through this book. On to our 7th prompt. Let's go for this one. Childhood best friends to lovers set in summer. I like that prompt. I have such a good one for this. I Wish You Would by Ava DeLaurier. This book is so underrated. It is so underrated. I loved every single second of it. It's just such a good childhood friends to lovers summery romance. We follow Natalia and Ethan, and they've literally grown up together. They've been best friends since childhood, and they're going into their senior year, and as part of like a senior year tradition, their year group has a senior sunrise, which is basically an overnight stay on the beach, and they do different activities together, and one of these activities is to write a letter. It's basically like a confession letter, if you will, and the idea of it is that they're gonna then burn these letters all together as a year group, and nobody could ever read them, and these letters actually end up getting out. And they're kind of like flying all across the beach. Some of the students are like picking them up and reading them out loud, and Natalia and Ethan basically work together to retrieve all the letters, hopefully before people's secrets are revealed. I just really like the concept of this, and I really like how it's written, and this is one that I actually annotated as well because I just loved the way this story was told. And I don't know how Ava DeLaurier has quite done it, but you just become so connected to these characters from very early on, and there's just something about this one that has really stuck with me, and I would actually really love to reread it at some point. This is another one as well where you have the actual letters in the book, and it just makes it so fun to read. But on to our 8th prompt. Go for this one. Most crazy book you've read. Ooh, I feel like crazy could be taken a lot of different ways. Crazy like the craziest plot twist, crazy like the craziest concept, like most unhinged. Leave it with me. I've gone down the route of crazy as in most unhinged because this one really stood out to me. This is Bodies by Christine Ann Foley, and this is one of the craziest books that I've read. One of the most unhinged, but in a good way. I actually was sent this as an ARC, so this is my ARC edition, and the amount of pages that I've actually tabbed and the amount of lines that I've tabbed. The best way that I can kind of explain this is female rage in a book. It basically follows one woman and her different experiences with different men and the different types of relationships that she has with them, and also there's a coming of age feel as well, because we go from like her first experience with the first boy that she ever liked and the first boy that she got into a relationship, and it's almost like we grow up with her as she's growing up and having different kinds of experiences. Unhinged. Unhinged in the best way possible, but a very interesting read and unlike anything that I've ever read. Okay, we've done 8. Should we do one more? Should we do one more? Why not? Let's do this one. A book to read on a boat ride or at the lake. Ooh, okay, I'm thinking what matches the vibe? What matches the vibe? I think I found the perfect one. I'm gonna recommend Where the Crawdads Sing. I just think this has such a good vibe, and this book is so atmospheric that I think it would be perfect to read on a boat or at the lake. I mean, it literally has her in a boat on a lake on the front. This book, I always say, has a little bit of everything. Because I really do think it does. It's a coming of age, but there's also a kind of thriller element to it. It's all set in the 1960s, 1970s, and we follow Kaya, and we basically follow Kaya from when she's very, very young. And it honestly feels like we're growing up with her. She basically lives alone in this marshland, and she's learning to grow up and learning to fend for herself. But there is something so cinematic and atmospheric about this place that she's in and the way that it's described, and it literally feels like it transports you back to that time. I would also really, really recommend watching the movie after you've seen this book. This is honestly one of the best book to screen adaptations, in my opinion, that I've seen. It was just exactly as I saw it in my head, and I just think it was done so well, so I definitely recommend the movie as well. This was also a really unexpected read for me. Like, I didn't expect to love this as much as I did, but there's just something about it that hasn't left me. And I think it would be absolutely perfect to read on a boat or at a lake. Should we do one more? Should we do one more? Why not? Why not? Let's make it 10. The 5-star read you thought about every day. I like that prompt. I like that prompt. I feel like I have quite a few options for this actually. Because I feel like majority of my 5-star reads, for the most part, I do think about very often. I'm trying to think of what is the most common one. I think it had to be between either Powerless by Lauren Roberts, because I think about Peyton and Kai very often, or Magnolia Parks. And I've gone with Magnolia Parks by Tessa Hastings because this book has literally taken over my life. I can't even explain the absolute chokehold that this whole series has over me. Like, I live in this world. For all I know, I literally live in this world with these characters. The characters in this whole universe just feel so real to me. And all their little inside things that they have with each other, I literally feel like I'm in on. And I find that literally in everyday life, I'm coming back to these characters and their little inside jokes and stuff that they have with each other. And I feel like they're always on my mind, honestly. So I'm gonna say this whole series. This has been so fun. This has been so fun. I've really enjoyed giving recommendations for your prompts. Thank you so, so much to everybody over on my Instagram who gave me any of these prompts. You guys literally make videos like this possible to film. So I really, really appreciate you guys. And I hope that I've given you some good book recommendations to add to your TBR or to your wish list. Thank you so, so much for being here and for watching this video. And I will hopefully see you in my next one.